welcome back to another episode of Wisconsin Weather Experts, exclusively here on Fox Local, as well as our Fox 6 YouTube page.
That's right. Thank you for checking it out. Thank you for supporting the show. We are routinely one of the highest rated shows on Fox Local, so we appreciate that. Oh, we're going to brag about it. Bring it up to the bosses every chance we get, but we have you to thank for watching and supporting the content here. We should probably extend a little bit of a thanks to our good friends over at Fox in Phoenix. They've been a big part of our show. They've been probably the greatest source of weather video lately that we have had here on the show. We can't thank them enough for this, by the way. Purple rain, purple rain. Yeah, you gotta love that. Great tune, great purple pictures, and some very stormy situations. Take a look at some of the shots they got into their station down there from their amazing viewers. This is, of course, over the city and throughout the Phoenix area from all of those monsoonal rainstorms. And here's a look at some video that was taken as well in that area as the monsoonal rain kind of rolled its way on into the valley. Look at that storm right there.
Just incredible.
Yeah, as seen in Maricopa. Look at the dark sky, too, Steph. Wow.
I know, and it has been so active over the last couple of weeks. I know I talk about my sister all the time, but it's been so fascinating to hear her stories from living in this relatively, new area for her, to go from the dust and the high winds to the heavy rain and the thunderstorms after what has just been a really hot and dry summer.
Yeah.
But that's monsoon season.
For sure, yeah.
So,
but then when it wasn't dry, it was flooding. So,
right, exactly.
Yeah, the extremes, fascinating. I mean, we've had similar extremes here, but not, with quite that variety. And it's been so consistent there the last few days.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now on to Florida, a spot that's been also dealing with very stormy weather, and that's thanks to a stationary front that's just sitting over there. It's still there right now. Fox's Brandy Campbell provides a look from Miami on some of the impacts that they've been dealing with.
Well, Floridians have been stuck in a stormy pattern for the past couple of weeks, and the front that's stalling over the state isn't done with us yet. You can see evidence of it here in downtown Miami with the heavy rainfall that we've been expecting. In addition to that, we could see some localized flooding on the streets here and some gusty winds.
From people just hiding underneath awnings. We've seen one or two other people with umbrellas, but yeah, mostly they're just going to try to take shelter.
So this could be seen in the most severe form from West Palm Beach going south of us into the Florida Keys. Now here in Miami, we're expecting maybe 3 to 5 inches of rain through the end of the week. We're also under a level 1 out of 4 flood risk. We've seen the city of Miami-Dade, or Miami-Dade County, I should say, as well as the city of Fort Lauderdale posting so residents and visitors know that this was expected. Also asking people, if you are getting on the road and you see that it's flooded, to please turn around. Now, if we do not see that localized flooding actually occur, this can be beneficial for this region. Most of Southeast Florida under some level of drought. Here in Miami, it's a severe drought, so this is definitely a good thing. But if we see that flooding, that's something you want to be careful of. So stick with us, download the Fox Weather app if you want to get continued updates here out of Southeast Florida as this rainy pattern continues over the region. For now, here in Miami, Florida, I am Brandy Campbell. Back to you.
And a bit of deja vu for our neighbors down south in Illinois when it comes to flooding. Damage assessment teams are going door to door. They were going door to door yesterday down the road in Illinois. So that included Cook, Will, and McHenry counties. Now, the goal was to determine if federal aid will be available for storm victims. Remember, they dealt with, it wasn't the same time as us. It was,
It was actually about 10 days
right?
later, I think. Yeah, about the 18th or so. And yeah, I mean, you can see the impact right there. So it feels eerily familiar as we went through all the same things 10 days earlier. And there's a weather alert south of the border as well. The Mexican National Guard helping to remove some debris and stranded vehicles from the flooded streets of San Jose del Cabo. And it was caused by torrential rains produced by Hurricane Lorena. The National Hurricane Center says the storm will weaken today and tomorrow and could create excessive rainfall across the southwestern portions of the U.S. through Saturday.
So the active weather continues. Now, speaking of out west, now firefighters continue to battle multiple wildfires. Officials in California say at least 22 of those fires began early Tuesday and were sparked by lightning. Now, several communities were also placed under mandatory evacuation orders. Some of the fires are burning in remote and rugged areas, making them difficult to access. It's always just heartbreaking to see images like that.
Right, and talk about extremes again, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Too much rain in so many areas, and then dry, hot, and the wildfires there. Well, have you ever wondered about hurricane hunters and what they do while investigating tropical system? I have some answers for you. Well, I don't, but reporter Mari Kraft from our sister station in Tampa does have the details.
Imagine flying through the world's worst weather. Well, that's Lieutenant Commander Josh Randenberg's job as one of NOAA's hurricane hunters.
I love flying inside of a hurricane, and by the time hurricane season rolled around this year, I was getting pretty antsy. I was ready to fly again.
How does your job prepare us for hurricane season?
The big thing about the NOAA hurricane hunters is the research that we conduct. We're doing a lot of research, getting a lot of data from within the storm that nobody else in the world is gathering. I think one of the more impressive data points is back in 1990, the average margin of error for a 3-day forecast, where is the eye of a hurricane going to make landfall, was plus or minus 250 miles. And now after 2020, the average margin of error, because of the NOAA hurricane hunter research that we do, is down to less than plus or minus 75 miles.
What plane do you guys fly up there into a hurricane? I know most of the time you're at the airport, your flight might get canceled because of a thunderstorm, but you guys are going into a Cat 5 hurricane.
Yeah, this is it's a P3 Orion, Lockheed special made 2 Delta variants just for hurricane research, and we have the only 2 in the world that were made for this.
One of Lieutenant Commander Randenberg's viral flights shows him and his crew piercing through the eye of Hurricane Erin.
This is our 5th pass into the hurricane. This is when she has finished her rapid intensification into a Cat 5, and we're busting through the eye wall, and things just open up.
And how does it feel to break through the eye wall?
Traditionally, the eye wall is the most violent part of the storm. It's where the highest winds are, the most wind shear, the most turbulence, some of the most severe precipitation. So lightning kind of increases in frequency, the hail, the grapple that we get, the rain, it all starts pounding on the aircraft, and you really hear it on the windscreen as you're flying through. The turbulence kind of gets at its worst. And so it's really humbling to experience that sort of raw power of Mother Nature.
Someone left a comment on the video and said, "Thank you for what you do, but y'all are nuts." Do you consider yourself to be nuts?
No, I don't think so at all. I think I'm well trained, and I love serving my country.
Thank you so much for doing everything that you do, and it has been a pleasure talking to you.
All right, thank you very much.
We are so thankful for them, the amount of research they do, and just everything we've learned from hurricanes. And can we talk about how brave they are too? Because as fascinating as it is, I think I'd be too terrified to do it myself. But speaking of the tropics, now I know there are a couple of storms in the Pacific right now. We talked about one of them bringing some heavy rainfall to the southwestern portions of the U.S. in the coming days. Nothing active right now in the Atlantic, although look at this tropical or potential tropical wave coming off of Africa. 80% chance for this to develop into some type of tropical storm. So pretty high chance there. We'll be watching in the next couple of days, could potentially see another named storm. And then from there, it's just a waiting game, as we all know, but nothing, thankfully, at this point named in the Atlantic. Back closer to home, we've got a couple of different systems across the U.S. right now. That low-pressure system and stalled front impacting the Gulf Coast, especially portions of southern Florida today. Here's the cold front that we saw yesterday, now bringing rain showers and a couple of rumbles of thunder now to the east. And then those of us here in Wisconsin were dry, but we're watching another system that's passing through the Dakotas and parts of Minnesota. Also a little bit more active along the west coast as well. Not quite to the coast itself, but western portions of the U.S. going to continue to see a chance for some showers and thunderstorms today, especially the southwest. Remember, those monsoonal, very heavy rains still going to be a possibility. And then, of course, we just talked about, too, with that tropical system in the Pacific, that could also add to the rain and thunderstorm potential here in the coming days. So it is still going to stay very active in southwestern portions of our country. Back closer to home, we've got a low pressure system up towards the north. Now, this is just fascinating. Even at this hour, there is still a little bit of, dare I say it, wintry mix in parts of Canada right now. It was a lot more prominent a couple hours ago when temperatures were a little bit cooler. Otherwise, you can see some spotty showers down into parts of the UP, Michigan State, far northern parts of Wisconsin. More so watching some of the rain that's out towards the west. We will eventually here in Wisconsin see rain chances later this evening and then especially during the overnight. But then by Friday, aside from maybe a few early morning showers, we should dry out the rest of the day. And the weekend is looking really nice as well. As we watch that system move in, though, it is going to bring in some stronger wind. In fact, you'll notice across Wisconsin, doesn't matter where you're at, the wind already is picking up this midday into your early afternoon. So for the rest of today, wind gusts could be over 20, maybe 25 miles per hour. But there are wind advisories and even a high wind warning across the Dakotas. So we see that tomorrow could easily see some gusts over 30, maybe 35 miles per hour. Otherwise, today is still going to be nice. We'll eventually see clouds and rain chances later this evening, starting out west and then making its way into eastern portions of our state. It is going to continue throughout the overnight. And then notice early Friday, we'll likely still have some wraparound moisture, so the potential for a couple of showers in the morning plus some cloud cover, but then that should decrease by Friday afternoon, and that will then set us up for a sunny and still pretty comfy weekend ahead. We have to talk about these temperatures, though. Low temperatures, of course, in northern Wisconsin, but even in southern Wisconsin this morning, we're in the 40s. 46 was our low in Milwaukee. That's the first time we've been this cold since early June, so it's been a while. You can tell when it comes to high temperatures, the spots, we're kind of in our own little bubble here that will stay well below average for today. There's still a lot of heat down towards the south and out towards the west too. There are spots in the northwest that are still under those heat advisories and high heat warnings, but you can tell again, there are still plenty of spots across the country feeling the summer heat. We're just not one of them here in Wisconsin. Again, those heat advisories, high heat warnings are still in effect for parts of Washington, Oregon, and even off towards the east a little bit more. And they have the potential to see some 90-degree high temperatures even throughout the day. They dealt with it yesterday as well. Now, temperatures back closer to home, little cooler than what they were at this point yesterday. We at least still saw some low 70s yesterday. We're not going to get there today. In fact, a lot of spots towards the south stay in the 60s, and we'll have to watch some of these northern communities. It's very possible they even fall short of 60 for highs today. So quite the change when it comes to our weather. Now, temperatures from here going to stay in the 60s all the way through Sunday. I mean, that's a good 10 to 15 degrees cooler than where we should be this time of year, but then gradually climb Monday into Tuesday back to 70s. Now, the average for today is still about 77 degrees. So even looking ahead to next week, those low 70s will still be a little bit below. But then it looks very likely that we see above average temperatures returning to the forecast, and that will likely be for the middle of September. And it's very possible we see more 70s and maybe even an isolated 80 back in our forecast. That's your latest look at your regional weather. Let's take a live look outside real quick where the sun is still shining. We have a quiet Friday ahead again across the state. And good news, plenty more Wisconsin weather experts coming up. Stay with us.
All right, welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts right here on Fox Local and the Fox 6 YouTube channel. Do not forget to click on the subscribe button. Of course, we're always available on demand through your connected TV as well. That's how Fox Local works as an app. You can just find us there in the library and watch any episode you want. So we are tracking some more rain.
We are, and you guys all know what we use to show rain is something called radar. But did you know that there are actually different types? Chief Meteorologist Tom Wachs explains.
I want to talk today about weather radar, because there are differences when it comes to what we show on television and also what you're seeing on weather apps. So let's talk about this. You'll see here on this image, you're seeing showers and a couple of thunderstorms rolling on through. This is the local weather radar, which is located in this case in Sullivan, Wisconsin. So that is in eastern Jefferson County. So this is taking the data directly from this one radar site. And here's the advantage to that. We will show this as we are tracking severe thunderstorms, for example, because we can really peer into the storm. We can peer into the wind of the storm, find out kind of the wind direction of what's happening in the storm. And we can also peer, let's say, into snow, for example. This gives us a good idea of where the heavy snow bands are developing and so on. Very localized and very high resolution data that's updating frequently. Now, what else do you notice on here? Little green lines, right? And these are outflow boundaries generated by rain showers and thunderstorms. That's also very important because that in turn can cause more storms to potentially form. We can also see when the wind is off the lake breeze showing up on this image as well. So again, this is the local radar site. We could also take you up to Green Bay. We could take you over to La Crosse, over towards Minneapolis or Duluth as well. So we can dial into any of those local radar sites. That gives us that real high resolution data. We'll now take a look at this. We've got the satellite, which are the clouds, in combination with the radar here, but it looks a little bit different, right? It's not quite as high resolution. However, this is called the composite radar. So what this is doing, and let me zoom this out a little more because I think this will give you a better idea. Instead of zooming in on one radar where the rest of the state effectively would be blank because it's not in that local radar range, the composite radar, notice how everything is showing up here. So the composite radar is taking all of the local radars from across the region and across the country and painting it on here. So that's what you're seeing on apps, for example. And we will show this more as a broad view. This is a good tool if you have a squall line coming in from the west that, maybe going over multiple local radar sites, you want to do the composite to show the whole line, right? And not just a segment of it. So I'll zoom this out even more. This is all composite radar. And the advantage to this is we can show everything that's going on one screen. We don't have to zoom in to kind of get local in each area, if that makes sense. So you can see the storm system to the south, the storm system to the northeast, another storm system in the Intermountain West. But if you really want to get down to the fine scale tracking for severe thunderstorms, for example, rotation or hail or those types of things, you want the local radar. So when it comes to weather apps, most weather apps are going to have the composite radar. Again, because you can pan all across the country. Again, it's not as detailed as the local weather radars are, but there are some apps that will also give you that local radar if you really want the fine scale tracking of the winds or the velocity inside of the storm, so on and so forth. But I really just want to highlight here that, again, there are two different types of radar data that we look at. One is that local radar, and again, we call it MKX for Milwaukee is the code that you might see on some apps. If you get the local radar, that would be the one out of Sullivan, Wisconsin, or GRB for Green Bay, so on and so forth. But most apps are going to deliver you this composite radar, which is, again, a phenomenal tool. But if you want to really hone down kind of on your local area, that's where we go back and we show that local image where we get a lot more products to be able to try to figure out what's going on with storms. So again, local radar versus composite radar, they both have their own advantages.
There you go. I love the deep dive. Love to go into things and peel back the layers for you, and we hope you appreciate that as well. That was part of the inspiration for our regional video podcast that we call the Isobar, the highs and lows of meteorology. Brand new episode came out last evening. Had a chance to sit down with the chief meteorologist in Chicago and in Detroit. And Rich is a former Air Force. And we were talking about dust storms, and that reminded him of a story from his Air Force days. Listen to this.
Now, I have a story for you. I know dust storms here in Michigan through the years, but 30 to 35 years ago, when I was on active duty in the Air Force, I spent some time in the Middle East, and I saw two of them. I was in the United Arab Emirates, and twice we had these giant events come where the entire sky is filled with sand and wind, and it's hot, So if you picture a hot, windy, sandy day, it's not pleasant. And I remember on one of them, we had to wear goggles and we had to have scarves around our face because the sand literally gets into your eyes, into your ears, into your teeth. It's so small, and it just gets into everything. So
yeah, fascinating story, fascinating experience. We thank him for his service, obviously. If you want to know, hear more of that story and many, many others, you can check out the Isobar. It's also on YouTube, but that's where you're watching this right now. It's on the Fox mobile app as well as on Fox Local through your connected TV.
And your last episode was a lot of the flooding that we dealt with. So there are a lot of really great opportunities to learn and recap from not just our area, but surrounding states too.
Yeah, it's always interesting to, kind of commiserate, if you will, but also learn through others' experiences. Emily has a different take on things, Rich has a different take on things, and obviously we all know different people in the industry that we pull in their experiences as well. So check it out. New episode just came out if you haven't seen it already. Or hey, watch it again. That works for me too. Watch this again in just a couple of minutes. Stick around.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wisconsin Weather Experts. This is an interesting one that we're about to talk about.
Yes. Well, if you're hoping to hit 100 years, it's connected to the weather, but it's, we like to talk about science in general here too. So if you're hoping to hit 100 in your lifetime, there's a new study that says, too bad. The average life expectancy just isn't going to make it to the century mark, at least not as an average anytime soon. So the new report says gains in life expectancy made by wealthy countries in the first half of the 20th century have significantly slowed. Researchers say generations born after 1939 on average, aren't expected to reach 100 years of age, and that life expectancy is plateauing in the absence of any major breakthroughs. Researchers point to previous surge in longevity being driven by major improvements in survival at very young ages. Infant death rates fell rapidly at the beginning of the 20th century due to medical advances, and from 1900 to 1930, life expectancy rose by about 5.5 months for every new generation, meaning a person born in a wealthy country in 1900 could expect to live to 62 on average by 1938, which seems crazy, crazy young. And then, of course, as the years went on, closer to 80, which is where we're at now, give or take. Infant and child death rates are now so low in wealthy countries, we're lucky for that, that it has changed the life expectancy, but we're at a point where that's kind of slowed or plateaued. In the U.S., life expectancy is just a hair under 76 years on average for men. Good news, Steph. You get 81 years for women. It was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, if you want to read all of the deep dive on that.
It is fascinating. Studies like this, just to hear, you know, all of the things that go into it, essentially. It's just very fascinating.
And a few weeks ago, we talked about how weather does impact life expectancy, exposure to extreme heat, exposure to extreme cold, and things like wildfires, all that smoke intake. So I'm hoping to make 100, not still sitting in this chair. So we'll wrap this up for today, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good one.